Okay, so in the previous tutorial we have seen how we can play random animation montage with respect to the carrying resources back to the resource building base. And as I said before, we need to spawn some sort of tool which represent our harvested resources, right? So let's see how we can do that. Well, basically it is somewhat similar where we implemented the harvesting, right? So in the harvesting, actually we have spawn harvesting tool, which is something like this. And similarly, we can spawn some tool to represent our harvested resources, right? So maybe wait, let me quickly check my documentation. Yeah, so maybe recreating this function again, maybe we can parameterize this specific structure, then we can reuse this function, right? So maybe I'll rename this function as spawn character tool, right? So it's a generic name to spawn any character tool, and as an input I will get the tool, right? So a tool should follow this specific blueprint type, which is BP character attachment. So over here let's add that blueprint, and then we can promote this to a local variable called maybe character tool, right? And then we can replace this thing like this, so we don't need harvesting tool anymore. So similarly we have to replace all the other references that has this harvesting tool reference, and harvesting tool static mesh. Okay. No, I think we need to pass this thing, right? This structure instead of this character tool. So let me remove all the reference, and let's get this structure, which is s character attachment, right? So let's get that s character attachment, and let's promote it to a variable called character tool. Okay, and then actually we have previously used this harvesting tool reference. Instead of that, let's create a generic name called tool reference, and let's assign it over here. So tool ref, and instead of this harvesting tool structure, we can now use this local variable. Let's split the struct and assign the pins like this. and remove this structure. And yep, over here we are using that tool ref, which is fine, and over here we are using tool ref. Okay, so let's compile and save. And we may need to actually resolve the reference of this function as well. So let's find the references. Yep, over here as the tool, now we have to pass this harvesting tool because we have parameterized it. And over here actually we don't need to pass anything. Even if we haven't passed anything, it will work. But for the safe side, let's pass the harvesting tool. Let's compile and save, and let's first check whether the previous function works properly. Yeah, so it's spawning that harvesting tool. And similarly, I'll create a variable called harvested resource tool, and it should follow this character attachment, and I'll assign it to the setup category and make it instant editable. And here we can spawn some sort of element that represent our harvested resource. So for now, in general, I will maybe spawn a tree log, and it should assign it to the hand socket, right? So I hope you remember where we had this attachment, right? So basically it was at the skeleton level. So if you go to the characters and base character and the skeleton, here we have our socket called hand R socket, right? And this is our hand L socket, but where's the hand socket? Yeah, actually it should be hand R socket, right? Not the hand socket. So let me copy that socket name and paste it over here, right? So this is the correct socket name. And as the socket transformation, I think we can keep it as it is, but later on if you want, you can add some sort of transformation offsets. But for now I think it's fine. And let's go to the carrying resource back to building thing, and before playing our random animation montage, let's call that spawn character tool, and let's say to spawn it, and our tool should be harvested resource tool. And once we reach to the location, we stop carrying, which means we can now disable spawning our character tool. Okay, so let's simulate and see whether it's working properly. Yeah, so she's harvesting, and yeah, as you can see, it's really quick. But I hope you have seen that tree log, right? So it will best suited for this character, which is Lambo. So you can see, yeah. So actually, she's spawning the wrong attachment, but yeah, function works properly. So this guy should actually spawn that tree log instead of this harvesting tool. So maybe we have done some mistake. Harvested resource tool. Okay, so probably the issue is that, yeah, when we are disabling this tool, right, we are not dereferencing the tool reference, right? We are not Yeah, we are not destroying it. Okay, because now we have somewhat generic functionality to spawning our resources. Yeah, character attachment tool. So whenever we spawning a new character attachment tool, what will happen is that instead of recreating a new one, it will try to show the previous one, right? Which is not what we want ideally. Uh, uh, uh. So maybe what we have to do is, instead of hiding it, now we have to destroy the actor and recreate it again, right? So yep, I think it should work, and we don't need these values, right? Because we don't need those functions, because those visibility related functions won't be triggered now, because we are destroying our actor each time. So let's see whether now it's working properly. Okay, now is spawning, and yes, you can see the tree dog also spawn at our worker instance, right? So yeah, let's check miner as well. Yeah, it's also spawning, but ideally what we need to spawn is not this tree log. Instead of that, we should be able to spawn maybe a stone, right? So we can actually do that by going to the workers, and let's open up our farmer. Yeah, so let me first save everything. Yeah, so this is the farmer, and this is the lumber. Also this is the mine. So for the miner, as the harvested resource, I will assign maybe SM stone 1 static mesh, but this will be quite big, therefore I will copy some transformation values and paste it over here, right? So these are my transformation values with respect to the stone instance, right? Maybe you can trigger tweak these values, or you can just simply copy these values as I represent over here, right? But yeah, actually you may not be able to copy the values as I did, because I am referencing my documentation and copying those values. That's why I can directly do that over here. But for you, actually you may need to tweak these values, or you can have to manually type these things, right? But anyway, let's try to simulate it that again. And yeah, let's see. Yeah, now you can see our miner is carrying a stone instead of a tree log. Great. And now let's go to the BP farmer, and as the harvesting tool, harvested resource tool, instead of the tree log, let's assign a fruit basket. Okay? So this is the fruit basket full of fruits. and as the transformation, again I will copy and paste certain set of values. So these are my values with respect to the farming girls harvested resource 2. Okay, so let's go to the barn area and let's try to simulate it again. Okay, she is harvesting, and then yeah, actually the rotation is incorrect, I guess, but yeah, now she is spawning the fruit basket instead of a tree log. So how we can resolve this rotation issue? Maybe let's try to zero this thing out. Let's try to simulate it again. Yeah, I think the rotation is still incorrect, right? So the best way to figure out those things, let's go to the our base character skeleton and let's use a specific animation, which is this carrying. So let's pause this thing for a moment, and at the hand R socket, let's assign that fruit basket. Yeah, so this is the issue, right? Okay, okay, so maybe I can duplicate this socket, right? And at the hand R socket, I will name it as fruit basket, and instead of here, let's add that fruit basket over here. And now we can add our transformations accordingly, right? So maybe like this, and let's try to play it again. Yeah, now you can see it's somewhat realistic, right? Right, so let's use this socket instead of the hand R socket. So in the farm, let's replace this hand R socket and try to simulate it again. Yep, now you can see the tool is spawning at the correct position, right? Which is somewhat realistic. And similarly, let's try to check our farmer as well. Okay, he's moving towards to the resource and start harvesting. And yeah, tree log also spawned correctly, but yeah, as I said before, that transformation is bit incorrect. So let's try to figure that thing as well. So I'll duplicate this thing again and call it as tree log, right? So actually you can use different types of socket names as well, but for now I will use these values, and maybe later on actually we can change these stuffs as well. So let's remove that attachment and let's show a tree log over here. and let's try to, yeah, something like this, spread animation. And now I think it's much better, right? Great. So let's use this socket instead of the handler socket at the BP farm. No, actually BP lamb. Harvested resource tool, no socket transformation, and at the socket it's handler reload. Let's try to simulate it again. Yep. Okay, now you can see our lumber also spawning the tree lock the proper location, right? Yeah, so I think that's how we can spawn the resources and bring back to the resource building base. And as the next step, what we can do, maybe we can visualize some sort of resource processing animation over here, and after the processing finished, we can increment the storage values in the respective harvested resource base. So we'll see how we can do that in the next tutorial, and for now these are the functions we have. And yeah, so thank you. I will see you in the next video.